Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Shellie Geigle with J&S Hobbies and Crafts. So this is the large folio tutorial that you saw, that it's snow time and the moon and me, and a lot of you wanted the tutorial. So I did do the tutorial and I did use different paper. However, in the tutorial I do say if you're using different paper, cut your panel at certain measurements so that you can quickly get yours cut, figure out what you want. So this is a large folio and it holds quite a bit. Oops, paper scrap. And this is about 6 1/4 inches wide, 8 1/4 inches tall, and the spine is about finished is about 1 3/8 inch there. And this is magnetic and it just folds out and it folds out again. And it's really easy on this. Once you have this all and you like put it all back together, it just kind of goes for you. So there's no hassle. And I did cover the spine and all that good stuff. So that opens up. And the first thing is over here. And what we have is a picture mat for you. And you can tuck right back behind it like I have, or stick another picture mat back behind this. So I thought that was super cute, how it came out. So then you open it up, and the paper I used for this is the Ciao Bella Northern Lights, and I really love this Christmas paper. It has the snowmen, and I like snowmen. So you open it up and you have a pocket over here, and you do have a snowman, and I'm going to grab this out really quick, but you can stuff back behind Mr. Snowman. And here's your pocket, and I just put a couple good sized picture mats in there, and I just made a little folder. So there's that. And then here what happens is this will open up for you and gives you a lot of places to put photos. And there's no magnets in here. The only place there's magnets is on the closure when we close it. So you can place photograph underneath there if you'd like, under here, and this really goes on for quite a bit, so bear with me here. So there's a place here, there's a place down here, and there is a tuck. So if you wanted to get a photograph in there, you can get it right on back behind and tuck it in there. Here we have some fold outs, and you fold it out this way, and there's a place right here and here for photos. And then we got 2 pockets, and I just stuffed these with picture mats and whatnot. Isn't that cute? And then over here there's a little cut apart that we backed, and he's our tuck area, and this comes out, and then a pocket right here. Okay, we're not done yet. This folds out, so there's places right here, and then this will fold out. You got more places here for photos. And it opens up to this, and you can place a photo here and leave the bird, unless you just want 2 photos and just have the outline for a border of your photographs. Me, I'll be putting a photograph right up here. Here, great place for a photo here. And then over here, this is a tuck, and it's not backed with any white cardstock, so you don't want to put a whole bunch of picture mats in there. All it is good for 1 picture mat. And or even like this, you can use the little pocket and then even glue one down right here. So you can utilize that 2 different ways if you'd like. So over here is panel 3, and this is where a lot of our paper gets used up because there's such large and there's a lot of places for photos. So right up front here we have a snowman, and there's a tuck behind him, and there's a place to plant a photograph. And I'll grab this. So for example, you can get it right back behind, and you have it framed with your pretty paper, and it looks really nice. Also, you can tuck back behind here a picture mat or whatever it is. You're not going to be able to get a super wide one in there, but you can get a good size one. All right, we're going to open this up this way, and pictures galore, here, 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 and here, especially if you're using like this size. And this photo is a 4 5/8 by a 3.5, so 3.5 by 4 5/8. And I think I cropped this down so it may be a little bit more. But anyway, you can see that you can fit 2 of these photos that size in here, so it holds pretty well. So then we just fold that out, and we have a pocket over here, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But right here you have a place to put a photograph, and although this needs to be on the landscape, you can kind of get the idea. And this will fold back, so more pictures, same picture, 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 or one big picture and some journaling underneath. Okay, so then this folds out. Now we have the 2 pockets exposed. And we have this here, which is a tuck, and I just made my own little tag. And then a nice size pocket, and I just made a folder here, and here's a large picture mat. And then over here with the snowman, it's a tuck as well. So you can tuck back behind here. Good size tags, or maybe even a photograph. And then in here we have some larger picture mats. So I thought that this came out really nice with this paper, and it definitely looks really good with the moon and me, and as well as it's snow time, which I know a lot of you were like anxious. Oh, tutorial. Well, this is the tutorial for it. You just lay the snow paper down. And if you want to lay the paper the same way I did like snow time, just review that video when I shared it. So here is a large fold out. And what it's going to do is it's going to come up this way, so you can see. Now, I did put the image of the snowman here, so if you want to use it for picture placement, you can. And you can go like this and have the background of the other. Or what you can do is go this way and put a little tag or something. Go this way, put a little tag, whatever it is that you want. But I wanted the snowman image for myself, and when I built this, so I kind of built this based on what I would like as far as for my own. And then this will come down, and this is a place where you could put a photograph as well, a good size photograph. And then you have a place down here. So again, photograph will fit. All right, now we have our waterfall, and we did conserve on paper, so this just kind of all comes up like a waterfall. Now this here, this is a tuck area so that you can tuck something back in there and keep it. Here's a photograph. If you wanted to do a photograph back in here, you can, and it will place. So there's room in there. It's just a little tuck area so that you can get part of your photo back behind over there and have this overlap layer on top. So that is what we created, and I thought it came out super, super cute. I really enjoyed working with this. So and this is so easy to put back together, guys, so I'll show you. Just kind of flop it over and it's going to find itself. And I make it super easy in the tutorial on how to cut your paper, especially if you're following along with me with the same paper. And it just comes all together. And I give you some tips along the way so that it all fits in nicely and you have the room that is needed. So let's move on into the materials list. Materials list. So for this tutorial, I will be using the Ciao Bella Northern Lights paper pack. There are 12 double-sided sheets. They're 12 by 12. And for this large folio, because there's so many large flips, you're going to need one full pack, plus you're going to need a few sheets out of your second pack. But this is gorgeous paper. If you saw It's Gnome Time or the Moon and Me folio project share, this is the tutorial where you can learn how to make the design of the folio, and then you can just add the papers that you would like. But for this, I am going to be using this. And this is absolutely amazing Christmas paper, and I'm just going to kind of show you what this has to offer. Here are some cut-aparts, backside. Just look at that. That is absolutely amazing. I love it. So I'm just going to flip through here and show you what it is. Look at that. Just awesome Christmas colors. This is right up my alley. And we got that. So you're going to get one of each design for this, and I absolutely love this. So that is what I'm using. And if you want to just make the folio and then do your own cutting of your paper, you can. However, in this tutorial, I am going to show you the exact cuts I'm going to be making with this paper. And that will help you with getting your sizes for fitting for each thing. You'll definitely want to watch the tutorial all the way through if you're making this with me. You won't want to jump ahead and just assemble and then go for it. There are several pre-cuts, and there are some tips for getting your folio, fold-outs, everything on exactly so that when it folds up nicely for you. Okay, so I'm going to stop rattling on around about that. We'll get to all that as we get going. This is a step-by-step, start to finish, and beginner friendly. You're going to want some 12 by 12 white cardstock. I'm using the American Craft. It's about 80 pound, and that is plenty. And this one actually comes with 25 sheets. All right. Not many materials for this, guys. You're only going to need 4 magnets out of one of these packs. And this is the basic gray. They're the large magnets. And again, just about 4 of them. You're going to want some glue. We'll be using our glue quite a bit in this. And I'm using the Art Glitter Dries Clear adhesive. And I do have the metal precision tip so that not a bunch of glue comes coming out on me when I'm using it. It does help to reduce the amount of glue because you really don't need much with this. It goes a long way. One thing I want to stress is if you do not like to use score tape, you're just absolutely a glue person, you will want some 1/4 inch to help you with attaching, seaming your base together. You have a 1/4 inch allowance, and if you're good with the glue, great. You can make pencil marks and just use your glue. I will be using score tape because I'm not that accurate when it comes to glue. And you'll only need a little bit of your 1/4 inch. So if you have some left from a previous roll, you can use that. I will also be using some 3/8 inch score tape. Now some of you can probably use your glue if you'd like. However, I am going to be using some 3/8 inch score tape for some of my, like my waterfall attachment, my pocket attachments. Equipment, you're going to want a scoring board for sure, your scoring tool, a paper cutter. You're going to need some scissors to make some snips. You're going to want to, on the pre-cutting guide, it does say to lightly label your pieces, and I have it all laid out in sections for us, so it's so clear and it's easy. But you'll want an eraser too in case you want to erase some of the stuff. We'll be covering most everything with paper anyway, but you will want to lightly mark your pieces and label them as I have in the pre-cutting guide. Craft knife is always helpful for getting the backing off the score tape. All right, that's it, guys. Some extras that you might want to do is maybe get some stickles. It's not necessary, but maybe diamond or crystal or stardust. You might want to add some accents. I used this on the cover of The Moon and Me for the round little circle. Different colors if you would like. I might experiment a little bit with some stickles. So anything that you have there, but it's not necessary. This will come out just fine without. First up on our pre-cutting and scoring guide is the base. And what it said was to cut 2 pieces that were 8 1/4 by 12 inches. The next step, it said, for seaming was to lay them so they were 12 inches across in front of us. It said on one piece to lay a piece of your score tape on one of them on the short side. So it doesn't matter if you laid your score tape here or here, here or here, just on one, because I'm going to show you, we're going to flip these the right way. So I'm going to go right here, and it's right up against the edge, 1/4 inch. So that's your overlap allowance for when we seam these together. So if you're using score tape, definitely burnish that down to get any air out. If you have any overhang of score tape peeking over the edge, like I do, you'll want to clip that. The next thing it says is to remove the score tape backing, and you're going to overlap by a 1/4 inch on top of that. So for me, I'm not that great at just looking at it and getting it straight, so I am going to grab my paper cutter because it has that straight edge paper guide. So I'm going to remove that score tape backing, and I'm going to lay one down here, just like that, and I'm going to push it straight up against this paper guide. Now with this one, we're going to overlap, and it's going to create about a 23.5 inch approximately long sheet. So I'm just going to get that right up against the paper guide there, and I'm going to place it down. And that helps me get them on even and straight. All right, put this away. We're going to need our scoring board. It does not matter if your scoring board starts over here, the 0 mark, or over here, because you can flip this around any way you want. So the directions said to take this big piece so that it's laying 23.5 inches across in front of us, and we're going to place it on our scoring board, just like that. Our first score was at 2.5 inches. So 2.5. Our next score was at 4. So 4. Then we have 10 1/4. And we have 11 5/8. So we're just going to score at 11. Oop, yep, 11 5/8. There we go. Then what it said is we're going to rotate this around until we are 23.5 inches across again. All we're doing is scoring at the opposite end. So we scored on this end, I turned it around, and we're just going to place this up. Now what we're going to score at is 5 1/4 and 5 7/8. Okay, so that is it. That is our little base here. So all I'm going to do now is we're going to fold on this. So I'm just going to start folding. Now when you fold, just in case your scoring's off a little bit, when you fold it over, make sure you're matching up with the sides of your paper here. And that will help you a lot. And then we're just going to use our tool. Every time you fold, just make sure you are lining up with your other part of the paper. Okay, so here, make sure I'm lining up, and that looks pretty good. Okay. That looks pretty good. And then I have some score lines over here. I'm just going to turn it around. It's going to make it easier for me. So not hard at all. You just have to take your time with that. So now what you should have is when you fold this here, over, here's that short little score, here's this short little piece. This is going to be off to our right. And we're going to start labeling these sections. So I'd like you to lay it out in front of you so that you have this little flap here. And I want you to put front, right, closure. And that's the front of it. Okay? Now what I would like you to do is just kind of fold it in like this, and this is going to come over onto the top. Okay? Right here, what you're going to write, and you can mash it down, it isn't going to hurt anything, and you're just going to put front of folio. Okay? So that's what it should look like. Let's turn it all the way over, and you're going to write back of folio. That way, if you get turned around, you always know which way this is going to go. Okay, now that we have it like this, I would like you to just open this all the way until you see this flap over here. Okay, and we have that short little spacing with our score lines. This one I would like you to write outside panel. And this is going to match up now to your pre-cutting guide for the directions, okay? So let's open this up now. I want you to put P1. That is panel 1, and this is how we're going to identify which section we're working on, and it will match up to the pre-cuts on the pre-cutting guide. And what I did was, instead of writing panel, I did P1. P1 means panel 1. We're going to go here in the second part in between those score lines and put P2. That's our second panel. Then you're going to see where you have two large score lines here. That's our spine, inside spine. Come over to here. This is P3. In between those, you can put inside spine. Okay? Over here, you can put inside spine. Okay, over here, what you're going to put is just put, right now, just draw two circles right here and here, and we're going to put magnetic closure inside. Okay, so I'm going to bring this up so you can see panel 1. And then there's those two score lines. We're going to leave that alone. P2 is for panel 2. That's our inside spine. Panel 3. Here's another inside of our spine. And over here on the inside is our magnetic closure inside. Okay? Let's turn this over. Here's the short end looking at it right here. And then there's a big spacing. We're going to put outside spine. There is no way you're going to get turned around by doing this. So you'll be looking at here and you're going to put outside spine. Okay? We're just going to close this all up. So it's going to look like this. Now, one thing I want you to do before we get started is to hold it upright. You see where you have this fold in here? Come over to this little corner, this one right here, and put it right in the crease of this. If you were to hold that now, you should have a nice fit, meaning the rectangle of your folio fits nicely. Don't worry about that because we have stuff to do in there, but that way you know that you have it correctly. Okay? All right. First thing we're going to do though is work on setting our magnets. I've got 4 magnets, and out of my pack I got 2 plus, 2 minuses. So if you were to open this up, remember those little circles we drew and we put magnetic closure inside? Well, those circles aren't necessarily where we're going to put it exactly. It was just to show you that that's where the magnets get placed. So I'm going to grab a plus. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come down right in the middle between this score line and the edge, and I'll come down a little bit from the top and just place it in the middle. So I can actually erase these right now so it's easier for you to see. And I'll grab the other plus, and I'll bring this up closer in just a moment. And I will come down here right in the middle. So I'll bring this up. So you can see there's my score line. Here it is, here and here. And you don't have to measure this, but I mean, from the edge here of the magnet to here, over here, I was about 3/4 of an inch up. This one, I was about an inch down. It really doesn't matter. So you can see. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to place the mates right on top of that. And this one seems to be kind of strange. Does not want to click on there. So let's see. There we go. I'll just put that one back. Okay, before I remove the backing off here, what we're going to do is we'll be standing this up. Remember the corner over here? Well, that corner is going to go right in that crease. So when we remove that, then what we'll do is we will just press it until it's same at the top, and we'll press that one, and then we will press that one, and that one should be in the corner down here too. It's not that hard, and I will show you really quick how I like to do mine and where I like to position my fingers so it doesn't get away from me. Okay, I'm going to place my finger right in here. I'm going to make sure that is up in there. Okay, I'll remove my finger, and I'm going to get the top done first, match it up, and then I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to match up this corner down here. Now I can put my hands in there and just press. Okay? All right, so now I'm going to carefully try to get this away from each other. If you are using different paper, you're going to want to cut a 6-inch wide by 8-inch tall piece of your decorated paper. If you're following along with me, we're going to grab this one out of our paper pack, and on the back it looks like this. Now, one thing about my tutorials is I try to stay consistent. I don't tell you to measure down this way, over, up. I usually, and I will start from this side, and I'll tell you to measure over. Now, if I want to cut it a certain way, I may have you turn the paper sideways, looking at it like this, and then measure over. But in this case, what we're going to do with this print is we're just going to measure over 6 inches and cut. So I'm going to grab my cutting board, so my cutting board, paper cutter, and I'm going to drag it out here. Okay, my blade is right here. So I'm just going to stick this on here. I'm measuring over 6 inches, so my 6 inches right here. Make sure that that's nice and even. Get up there. There we go. So 6 inches, and I'm going to cut. So this piece right now, I'm going to stick this off to the side in my scrap pile. And my scrap pile I do call reserves, because I'm reserving this to use at a later time somewhere else in the folio. So our scrap pile is called our reserves. Okay, so I have that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn this sideways. Well, look at it like this, and from over here, we're going to measure over 8 inches and cut. So 8 inches, and I'm going to cut. This piece I'm going to put in my reserves, my scrap pile. Okay, I'm going to move this out of the way. And what we're looking to do here, even though we are 6 1/4 wide and 8 1/4 tall, I cut this smaller at 6 by 8 so it will give us a nice white border if we place this down and center it. So that's what we want to do. So right now what I'm going to do, because it's going to be much easier for me, I'm just going to fold this out and I'll just press right down on the spine so I can see where it needs to go. Now you can use glue and then burnish it down really good, or you can use score tape to get this down right in there. Me, I do like score tape, and I'm going to use it, especially around the edges so nothing catches. And but again, if you're using glue, no problem. For this, I just prefer the score tape. So I'm just going to go around the outside first here, like a picture frame. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to burnish this all down when I get my score tape down. And I will cut off any pieces that are overhanging. So I definitely don't want to see that. I think I'll just go one down the middle and one on either side. I'm just using my 3/8 for this. You can use your 1/4 inch. So I'm going to check. I know I have some overhang right there. Okay, burnish down. Get all that air out from underneath that double-sided tape. And although it may not seem like this is a big deal, it is. You definitely want to get the air out from under that score tape. You start getting air pockets, then what's going to happen is over time it's going to dry out and it could spread and you could get liftage. And when you're using your glue, you should always burnish it down to spread the glue out and make sure it is down really good. There's nothing worse than getting some warping or dried glue bundles underneath, and you just want to make sure it makes contact. Okay, so again, here is my front, and I am going to place this. And then, like I said, it's easier for me to do it like this. I think I'm pretty even here. Hopefully. I'm just going to get that down. Get that down really good. So now, when I fold this all back up, this is what yours should look like. Alrighty, we're going to get for right here. Alright, those of you that are using a different paper than me, I'm going to give you the measurement. You want a 2 3/8 inch wide by 8 inch tall piece to go over this. If you're following me, the front of your paper pack looks like this, and the back looks like this. The first thing I would like us to do is put this on our paper cutter. And what we're going to do is right here you'll see a white line, little border separating the print up here from here. We're just going to cut this all the way down. And I'm going to grab mine paper cutter here and I will show you. Just going to cut that. These pieces right here are going to go in my reserves. So right now what we're going to do is we'll look at it sideways, and this should be about 8.5 wide. So we want to cut that down because we're going to use this not only for our back but also for the front, and if we have enough we will use it for the side so it all matches in. So looking at it like this, what we're going to do, our little house zip is up here, we'll measure over 8 inches and we will cut. And any scraps that are like this, you definitely want to hang on to. We may use them. So I'm going to stick this in my reserves. Okay, so again, we're going to cut for the front and for the back. My first cut I would like to do is to measure over 6 inches on this and cut. There's 6 inches. There is our back piece, and I'll just stick that off to the side. Now we're going to measure over 2 3/8 inch and cut. 2 3/8. Okay, that is for the front up here. And we're going to need a couple pieces for the spine. So if you are using a different paper, you'll cut for the back piece a 6x8 like we just did. You'll cut your 2 3/8 by 8 inch just like we did. Now for this side, what we're going to do is we're going to cut a 1 3/8 inch strip. So measure over 1 3/8 inch and cut. And I think that's about right there. Okay, so that's going to be for here, and that'll look good. So I'm just going to stick that right off to the side. This one, we're going to be going 1 1/4 inches. So if you're cutting your own paper, cut a 1 1/4 inch wide by 8 inch tall. For us, we're still going to use this. We'll measure over 1 1/4 inches and cut. I think that is about straight. This leftover piece I will put in our reserves. We are ready to go here. So for our front closure, we're going to use this. I'm going to use score tape. You can definitely use glue, but it may be helpful if you open this up and lay it flat when you're burnishing and doing what you need to do. So I just don't like things to get snagged on the cover and stuff. You know, edges, corners, getting caught when you're placing it on a shelf or whatever it may be. So that's why I like to especially use score tape on the outside. With my mini albums, I like using score tape all the time for our base sheets. So I'm just going to get this around the edge here. And I think for this I'll just do 2 on the inside. Okay, so this is going to go here, and then what we will do is we'll get the back piece on. And then the skinnier of these 2 pieces is your left side. Your left side is slightly less in width than our right side. The right side is a little bit more so that this flap can come over nicely onto the top. So we're going to start getting that done and getting these laid down. When you're laying this, a great way to match up is when you lay this down, you can line it up with your paper over here, and then you're going to center it in between the side here, so you'll have a little bit of a white border. And there is an extra piece I do want to add, and first let's tackle this, and then we're going to do some cutting for the front. If you're using the Moon and Me paper, on that particular one, that had one of the cut-aparts that's a circle, and for the front. And what you can do is you can cut that out and then mount white cardstock behind it and cut around, leaving a white border. That's one thing. And if you're using the It's Snow Time, then you have the back of the cover of your paper pack. That has a lot of fun cut-aparts, a lot of them. So I'm going to open this up now. This will be easier for me. Just make sure you don't put in your paper on the outside panel. That's why we labeled everything. It just makes it easier to know, because once you start laying these things open and stuff, it can be confusing. Okay, we're going to continue on. Since I have this all laid out, now the wider spine, since if you're laying yours out too to get it down nice, Take a look at your pieces here. Your whiter part is here, and then the thinner one goes right over here. So where'd my other piece go? This one is the wider one. It's going to go here, and then this one's going to go here. So just double check. It's always good to double check yourself. I know I have to. I've been paper crafting for a long time, making mini albums for years, but I always double check myself. It is so easy to just kind of be in your own little world and just keep going with it and then decide, whoops, there's a mistake. So always double check yourself. Just make sure you get it in between those score lines for your spine. Now using your glue, of course, is a lot quicker than score tape, but I am a score tape girl, and I just want to make sure everything is down. Alright, so far, once I close this all back up, that is what you should have. Now, I want to add some color to this, and I am going to be doing some cut-aparts. So one thing I'm going to do is, I really like this color, and it looks good with colors over here. So what I'm going to have us do is we are going to turn this sheet, and this on the back is this from the paper pack. What we're going to do with this is turn your sheet upside down, measure over 1/4 inch, and cut that all the way down. So by the time you're done doing that, you should have this. And we're just going to set this off to the side for a moment. This is what you got, and we're going to flip that over. We're going to measure over 8 inches and cut. The little scrap piece, put in your reserves. This piece right here, we're going to glue this down, and I'm going to use glue, and we're going to stick that right there. So for something like that, I definitely am going to use some glue, and I'm going to get that down. Just for a little more color over there, and I have to open this up so I can get a good burnish. And if you got your little piece on a little crooked, this can actually hide some of that crookedness. Okay, burnish away we go. So that's what we have so far. Now I would like to do some layering using this paper. And if you're using another paper, you can look through the pack and see what you would like to do. But I think what I want to first do here is grab a couple things. Now when you cut into this, it might be a good idea for you to cut it the way I am. I don't want to have this piece, this paper, all in several pieces. Then it's kind of hard to find in our scrap pile. So what I'm getting at is I'm going to get this out, and I might grab these as well. So I'm going to come in from the side. I'm going to weave around the snowman and the tree. I'm just going to go like this, and then I'm going to cut over. It's so much easier when your cut apart sheet is in one piece when you're done. Okay, we're going to start with this. I'm going to put this in my reserves. And by the way, I think I showed you the back. All right. Now you should have had some leftover scrap white cardstock from making the base and all your pre-cuts. So you're going to want to grab some of that, because we're definitely going to make sure that this is sturdy and it's going to look good. So I have all 4 pieces now. I'd separated those. What I'm going to do is cut out and around this. I'll cut out and around the tree, and I'm going to do that with these. So I will show you what mine looks like as soon as I am done. So I have this piece. This is what I did. And I'm just going to stick that down there. This scrap piece, any scraps, just throw in your scrap pile. I'll show you the tree and the other in just a moment when I am done cutting those out. So I have all my pieces, and this is my tree, and these are my two little hollies. So you should have had some leftover cardstock from when you were pre-cutting. And you'll just want to glue down your tree to a piece, and then we're going to cut out and around that, leaving a little bit of a white border. And we'll do the same with this. The holly you do not have to. So I am going to find some of my scrap paper here, which I have plenty. I'll glue them down and I will cut out and around it. And then I'll show you what mine looks like. So I have mine cut out, as you can see. I left a little white border, my tree, and then these were left alone. Now there is another piece that I would like to get, and that is on this piece. I would like to get this snowman out. So I'm going to come and just cut him right on out. And I'm going to weave in between him and him best I can. And I'm going to do the same thing with him. I'm going to cut out and around him. And then I'm going to mount him onto white cardstock. And I'm going to cut around that and leave a little bit of white border if I can. And this will stiffen him up, and also it will kind of highlight him a bit. So I'm going to get going on this one. So when I'm cutting out around his branch, his arms and stuff, I am leaving some of that beige in there. So, because it's such a skinny little piece. And if it detaches on you, you can just glue it down to the cardstock how it's supposed to be, and then cut out and around. And when you come down here to his arm, you don't need to cut up in that area. You just leave that beige. I did do it on this side, but it's all going to be glued down to paper too. So after we cut out and around him, so it'll be okay. But this side we might want to just leave that. So now I am going to glue him down, and when you glue it down, make sure you get the branch really good, and then I'll cut out and around that as best I can. Alright, it's time to get these pieces down. Here's my snowman. The first piece that we're going to glue down is the South Pole. Santa's house, North Pole, and we'll just make sure that we get the edges really good on this. And I'll show you where we're going to place that. Whoops, glue all over me now. Okay, so make sure that this does not come over the edge. So I'm just going to place this up a little bit higher. Get that down. The next is the tree and the snowman. So we're going to glue these two together, but what's going to happen is these are actually going to place right like this. And they're going to overhang. Okay? So when you open it up, you will see white, and you can always cover that up too. So let's kind of maneuver these. As you can see, my snowman's like this at the bottom. The tree's right here. So I am going to add that glue now. Make sure it's straight. That looks good. I'm just going to burnish it down, and I'm going to wipe up any glue. And now what's going to happen is we're going to glue this down, but we do want to get some scrap cardstock back behind there to catch any glue that might seep over the edge. So when I place this, make sure you get glue on this, but this cannot go over the edge, and neither can this. So we're just going to place that down like so. So right to the edge with over here, just like that. So I am going to just start putting a little glue. So you're just going to have to kind of look what you're doing there. The snowman, he's completely glued. And you'll have to wipe up any glue that seeps over. So I know that part is good. So what I'm doing is I'm just placing it down to kind of see where I need to place the glue. I think I got the center there. And then I can add some more if needed. So that goes there. That's there. Wipe up any glue. Okay, now that I have him kind of placed where I want, I'm going to open this up all the way up, and I'm going to burnish it down really good. And then I'm going to turn it over and look to see if I need to clean up any glue. So, and I do need to add a little glue back over here. I can see that. So now I'm going to turn it over. Hey, I did pretty good. I don't see any there. So let's close this up again so we can see what we're doing. Doesn't that look cute? Okay, for the little hollies, I'm not going to back them, but I am going to place one right here. So I'll just cover this with glue. Put this one right here. And I think for this one, we'll just stick that, where do we want that? I think I'll just go right down in here with that. And so now here is our cute, adorable cover. And I loved that. Now we can come back and add more, like I said, cut aparts if you would prefer, or do a little more. But our outside is complete. We're now going to move in to the inside. And we'll work on the outside panel first. So that's all I did. All right, we're on the outside panel now, and there was one pre-cut. Now, if you want to cut the backing for your picture mat a different size, you can. I have a regular photo here, and when I lay my decorated paper down and then I lay this, I will have a little bit of a border of that paper when it finally goes down. So our pre-cut was a 3 7/8 by 5 inch. We labeled that picture mat. If you are using different paper, what you're going to want to do with your decorated paper is cut a 5 inch by 8 inch piece, and you can glue it down. Those of us that are working with the Northern Lights, we are going to use a different paper. In your paper pack, you will locate this piece here. It's beautiful. On the back, it has the wood grain, and I really love that. So we're going to end up with this side up, but we're going to cut this together here. So the first thing that I would like you to do is turn your paper sideways like this. We're going to measure over 8 inches and cut. So this is what we're left with so far. We're going to measure over 5 inches and cut. All right, put the rest in your reserves. If you were to lay this down on your panel, and you can use this side if you would like, I am going to be using the wood side up. But if you notice, when we place this and we center it in there, we will have a nice wide border around that. Now I'm just going to press this little side thing down, and for this I think I'll just use some glue and just make sure I get my edges. So we're just going to glue this down. I'm just going to press that down so I can see what I'm doing, and it's easier for me to burnish. I think that's good enough. That looked pretty straight. Okay. And we'll wipe up any glue that seeps out. Okay, so our outside panel is done. Here is our picture mat. What we're going to end up doing is applying glue to that and gluing it right down here. But we're only going to put glue in a certain spot so we can still slide more back behind. But first, I would like to find our paper for this. I would like to cut our decorative paper so you can kind of see what it's going to look like. And I was thinking that would look really nice. But I think in our reserves, we're going to use this piece with the green. And then I can add something. So in our reserves, if you flip over, you will find this piece. Right now, this is about a 4 by 6, a 4 by 6. Okay, so we're going to make this, you're going to cut this down to a 3 3/4 by 4 7/8. So my first cut, I'm going to measure over 3 3/4 inch and cut, and then I will come on over this way 4 7/8. Let's see if that works for us. When we place it in there, that should give us a nice white border right there. So we definitely want to use up some of our scrap paper in our reserves. And this is a pretty print green. And I'm probably going to get after some cut-aparts in our reserves too off that sheet. So in case I was not clear, your decorative paper should have been cut at 3 3/4 by 4 7/8. Okay, glue. What we're going to do is, like I said, we want to be able to slide something back behind. Glue we're going to place right along the back side of here and along the bottom. So I'm just going to flip this over. So a line here and a line across the bottom. I'm going to flatten that out. And I'm just going to kind of center that side to side, try and get it even. I think I'm crooked a little. Just a little. Okay. Then we're going to burnish that down. Wipe up any glue. So now you can see, what do I have in my reserves here? I'll just grab this. So now you can see, you can get something in there. Okay, this is going to be so stinking adorable by the time we are done with it. You see Mr. Snowman here? We're going to get him out. Now this is going to end up dividing us off of this, which is fine. We'll just stick that over there. I'm going to cut out and around the mailbox. And I think I'm going to grab that holly. Okay, so these two pieces I can put back in my reserves, or I can set it off in a separate pile, which I'm going to do. It'll be easier for me. All right, let's cut out and around the holly. We're going to cut out and around the snowman. Then what we're going to do is the same thing we did before. We're going to glue it down to some white cardstock, and we're going to cut out and around him. And I will show you what mine looks like as soon as I am done. I think this folio design is wonderful for a variety of different papers, and it can be used for just about anything, from an everyday to a holiday theme to a specialty. You could even use this for if a small folio wedding album, with different paper of course, but I was really happy how this came out. So I did want to share that with you, what I was working on. Okay, I have my snowman. So what we're going to do with him is, again, you're going to make sure that these do not go over the edge. But he is going to place right like this. We're not going to put glue back behind his head because you still want to be able to place a photo back behind. So such as you can see, I have that fun little green Christmassy border. And how nice is that? So in any case, if any of you were ever questioning why I use the decorated paper when I'm putting a photo, it's kind of like a triple mat. And that's just what I like. So I'm going to look at how this looks here. And I'm going to raise him up so some of the wood is still showing there. And I'm going to kind of look to see what needs glue. So I know this side of him straight down underneath. And with this one, I would go all the way down to his waist and put all that down. That's going to anchor him pretty good. Just because I think that that would be a good idea. So glue around the bottom. Got the glue there. So now I think what I'm going to do is put the line of glue here. And then I'll fill this part in. And then I'll check to see what else I need to do. So I'm going to flatten that out so you can see better. Making sure these don't go over the edge. Okay, the little holly, I think we're going to add some holly right down here. Where do we want to put that? That looks good. And that looks good. We'll put it here. Right about there. That's good. So let's try this out. And where's the photograph? Here's a photograph. And I can still get that in there. Just make sure that you did not glue him too far up. And I look like I have a perfect fit here. As you can see, that looks good. And there's no glue on that. Good. Okay. The outside panel is done. We are now going to move on to P1, panel 1. We're on panel 1, P1, and we had one pre-cut, and that was a 3.5 by 6-inch piece, and we called it P1 Pocket. We're going to need our scoring board to go over this. It was really simple. So what we first did was we laid this so that we were 3.5 inches across. We scored it at a 1/2 inch. Then we turned it to where now we are 6 inches across. We scored it at a 1/2 inch, and we scored that at 5.5 inches. Okay, if you were not using the same paper as us in the tutorial, your decorated paper that you're going to want to cut is a 5-inch by 8-inch piece. Alright, if you are following along with me, you will find this beautiful print in your paper pack, and on the back it looks like this. We're going to turn this sideways so our trees and our snowmen are sideways like this. We're going to measure over 8 inches and cut. When you're done cutting, this is what you should have. We'll put this long piece in our reserves. And now we'll just look at it like this, and we'll measure over 5 inches and cut. So now you should have a 5 by 8 piece, and we also have our pre-cut. Really quick, before we do anything, is what we want to do is lay this down in our panel 1 on the inside, and make sure that when you place this, this will give you a white border around, and it will leave you about 1/8 of an inch away from that score line there. Everyone, let's go ahead and glue this piece down. I took a couple days off from filming. I My hair was getting scraggly from dead ends. I had a haircut and I had a manicure, and with all this craziness going on with the elections and everything, I thought, you know what, it's a me day. Get away from it all. So that's what I did. Let's glue this down. And again, make sure that you're about 1/8 of an inch away and we're centered top and bottom there. And we'll burnish that. Okay, for our panel, what we're going to do is grab our scissors. Notice down here we have our 2 score lines that meet each other and they make squares in the side. We're going to cut up to that score line and then we'll cut over, and that will take the squares out. And we're going to do that on the other side as well. Alrighty, so I'm just going to move some of this aside so I can work here. But what we're going to do is just fold on those score lines. Use our tool to sharpen up the edges there. Okay, pull your sides in and then pull this up. You should be able to come up. If you are off on your cut on this, meaning when you pull this in, it doesn't want to go, it's kind of hung up here, go ahead and just trim a little bit more off of this so that it straightens up and you can pull this in without interfering with this coming up over. So with your sides in, now that we got that all taken care of, we're just going to put a little glue in the corner here, down on that flap. We'll pull in our sides and we'll pull that up. Now you can use score tape or you can use glue for this next step. I'm going to use glue, and I'm just going to put some glue right on these little flaps here that we pulled up. Just like that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to the bottom of my decorative panel, and I'm going to place this right there, and I'm going to kind of push in the side. So you'll be able to see some of your decorative paper when you do that, but you're just going to pop it up just a little bit, not a ton. Just enough to give a little opening. It's easier to get things in and out when you have a little bit of a puckered opening there. That was pretty simple. Let's move on to our next step. If you are using a different paper, what you're going to want to do is cut a 2 7/8 inch by 5 inch piece of your decorative paper. Those of you that are following along with the Northern Lights, we're going to grab this out of our reserves. On the back, it is this. This piece is about 7 inches by 8 inches. So we're just going to turn that sideways. Look at like this. We'll measure over 2 7/8 inch and cut. That is what you should have. We'll just look at it like this. Measure over 5 inches and cut. And our final piece, if we were to place this down all the way to the bottom of that pocket, that should give us a nice white lip up here, everyone. So now everybody can glue their piece down. I think that looks great. Those of you that are following the Northern Lights paper like I'm using right now, we're going to be doing some cut aparts here as far as fussy cutting out. And what we're going to do is we're going to come up, we're going to grab this out of our reserves. We're going to come up between the bird and the sleigh, and we're going to cut out the snowman. Kind of weave around. And don't forget his little pitchfork. And if you want to cut over to separate, you can, but I'm going to try and keep this all in one piece. Try anyway. Now when we come down to here, you see this little poinsettia, or yeah, holly, excuse me. We're going to cut out and around that. And I think we're going to grab the bird, so I'm just going to kind of go like that. And then this is like hanging on by a thread, but I'm going to put this back in my reserves. If you're using a different paper pack and you have some cut aparts, you may want to grab something and put it where I am going to do. So I'm going to cut out the bird. I'm going to cut out the holly. Now for him, I am going to cut out and around him, fussy cut. And then I'm going to come up and just cut around this whole image, and I will show you what mine looks like as soon as I am done with that. So really quick, I wanted to show you how I did the snowman, because we do have the branch. So as you can see, I left some of the blue around that to help give it a little more. And for the pitchfork, I just cut straight across, and you can see how I did that. So now I'm going to continue on and cut out these two. All right, I have all of this done here. So what I'm going to first do is I'm going to apply glue to the bird. And I'm going to bring this up so you can see. And I'm going to glue him right here. So his tail kind of comes out over the snow. Next thing is I'm going to add some glue to this, and I'm going to bring that right over here to the side, kind of overlapping. Okay. All right, so now we're going to back this with some white cardstock. I'm going to find some here. So I'm going to glue this down, and then what I'm going to do once I've glued down and I've burnished it to make sure it's down, I'm going to cut out and around, leaving a white border, and that will really make this look good. So if you were fussy cutting and you cut perhaps your thing off here on accident, kind of just going with the flow and it just happened, you can glue it back onto the white cardstock. Okay, let's begin cutting. I have mine all cut out, and you can see it didn't take too long. What we're going to do with him is we're going to glue him down. Now when we glue him down, we are going to want to tack down just the side of this here, so it keeps it down and it doesn't fold over in case you're flipping and flopping. But what you'll want to do is just place this down really quick, find out how far over that you need to be. And I'm going to bring this all the way over this little area right here to just before it goes over the edge. So first things first, I'm going to add some glue right over here to the back of the pitchfork. And then now I know about right here under the pitchfork all the way down and over. That way you can still slide something back behind. So I'm guessing it's right about here. I'm going to come down along the side, and I'll get a little over there, and then straight across. And I'm going to grab a scratch piece of cardstock just to lay back there for now so I don't glue my pocket down. And I'm going to look again. I'll place it up here, and then I'm going to place it down like this. And if I need to put a little more glue up there, I will, but I think I got it pretty good here. Alright, so now you can place something back behind him. And I think that looks adorable. Alright. Panel 1, P1 is done. We are now moving on to P2. Let's go over our pre-cuts for panel 2, P2. On our pre-cutting guide, you would have cut two pieces that were 6 1/4 inch by 8 inch, and we labeled these fold outs. If you didn't write 6 1/4 by 8 inch, you may want to, because we have different fold outs, and it will matter. where we place these. So first things first, what we did was we laid both of these down on our scoring board, so we were 6 1/4 inches across, and all we did was score that at a 1/2 inch on both of these. We also cut 2 pieces that were 5 7/8 by 8 inch, and we called these fold-outs. What we did on each one of these was we laid this on our scoring board, so we were 5 7/8 inch across. We scored at a 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch on both of these. We also had 2 pieces that we cut at 5 1/2 by 6 inches. Okay. And they were scored the same, and we called one a top flip, one a bottom flip. All we did on this was we laid this so we were 5 1/2 inches across on each one. We scored at a 1/2 inch and 1 inch on each one of these. And for the one that says top flip, you'll have your score lines. You'll flip this around so you have your score lines at the top. And if you need to erase and just put top, you can. And on the bottom flip, you'll want to look at it to where you have your score lines down here. So if you wrote, you don't have to do that to put yourself situated. I'll make sure we get situated when we start assembling, but if it's easier for you. So there were 2 of those. Then we had 2 pieces that were 4 by 6 inch, and we called those a pocket. What we did on this, we laid this so we were 4 inches across. We scored at a 1/2 inch. We then turned it so we were now 6 inches across. We scored at a 1/2 inch, and we scored at 5 1/2 inches. Alrighty, let's get started. I'm going to pull this right back out. I have my piece in front of me right now, my folio. I'm going to stick all of these off to the side. If you are using different paper, what you're going to want to do on your decorated paper is cut a piece that's 5 1/2 inches wide by 8 inches tall. Those of you that are following along with me, let's get our paper out. In your paper pack, you will find this print. On the back, it looks like this. First thing we're going to do is we're going to turn this all the way upside down because we're going to start measuring from this side and we want this print over here. So we're going to measure over 5 1/2 inches and cut. And this is what you should have. Next thing we're going to do is, you see where the top of the birdhouse is. I want you to use your pencil and just kind of make a mark about 1/8 inch above the top of the peak there. We're going to stick this on our paper cutter and we are going to cut. And hold on to that. So this is what we have. Turn it sideways, measure over 8 inches and cut. You can stick this in your reserves. Now notice if you were to place this down, and you notice the inside score line here and over here, it looks like there's just a lot of room. And I did do that like this so that you can get all your fold outs in correctly. Now put this off to the side. There is our base sheet. Now everyone should be getting at, let me find it here, your 5 7/8 by 8 inch fold out. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to fold on those score lines. All right, so you'll have one hinge off to the right, one hinge off to the left. So if you scored them both when you're doing it and you have upside down, that's okay. Don't worry about it. We'll situate this the right way. Okay, so for this, you have this little area here, and I want this to fit nicely. We're going to have our hinge over here. You see this 1/2 inch here, and then you have a score line. On that 1/2 inch, I want you to pinch it. So right now, you'll still be able to see that other score line. Now I'm going to bring this up. I'm just going to show you what we're doing here. What we're going to end up doing is putting glue on that, and we're going to bring that all the way over, and we're going to match this up with the top of our decorative paper over here. So we're going to have that space in between because that is our little spacing over there. But what you're going to do is you're going to place it down right up against that score line. So if you were just to lay this down and pull this up, you could scoot that all the way over. Just make sure you are straight, even top and bottom, and it will go in nicely. So we're going to do that together. We're going to work on the left first. I'm going to bring this over. I have glue, and glue is the better choice for this when we're doing this because, and I'm just going to fold that up and push it over, because you can maneuver it and make sure that when this comes down, it's straight. So I'm going to bring this up. I do have to burnish that. But as you can see, here is a score line here, and that is up against. So, and then you have your other score line. So we're going to open that up, and we're going to burnish. And then you can just, right now, you see this other score line? Just push back against it now. So now if you were to do that, it looks like your spine over here, that little spacing is shorter. We're going to do that with this side. And this is different than I've ever taught, but I found that this kind of all folds in better. So I'm going to grab this other one and get right on that 1/2 inch area there. And I'm going to do the same. I am going to leave this down because that's what's going to match me up when I get over here. So here is my score line, the start, and then my inner spine. So I'm going to just bring this right up, and I'm going to tuck this right on in there, matching up. Make sure that this is straight up and down. And then I can maneuver this to be straight with my other one. As straight as you can anyway. So now we'll push back. This should go like that. We'll push back now, bring that one back. And then when you fold up, you can see when this starts folding, it's going to sit nicely in there. It's a little wonky right now until we get the rest of the guts of this in there, but it's all good. Let's grab our base decorative paper, and we'll set this off to the side. You have 2 fold outs, 6 1/4 by 8 inch tall. We're going to fold on that. Now we could have cut this wider, but I wanted to make sure that there's enough room in there, just in case you don't get these on correctly, you'll be okay. All right, all we're going to do with that is, here is our 1/2 inch, and we're just going to hook that right back behind this one. Okay? And you'll have plenty of room. Even if it goes over the other side, you're going to be okay there. Make sure that we are straight. And once you are, we're just going to apply glue to that flat. So there's one fold out. Okay? All right, so now for this one, it's a little bit trickier. What we're going to do is, we have our fold. We're just going to go straight in. Don't bring it all the way to the edge, okay? We're just going to bring it straight in because you have to be able to fold it. So if you were to tuck that in, it will look like this. So I'm going to do that again. Here's this. I'm just going to lay it here for now. Okay, it's not all the way tucked. Here's that. Here's the side. I'm going to pull this over, and then what you can do is just go like this until it is in there nicely, and they should match up nicely. Okay? Make sure that's right. got that in straight. Now I'm going to fold this over. Notice that we're not going to put glue right here. What we're going to do is put glue on the decorative paper right here. And then we're going to do that. So that's why I said don't jump ahead on this. It's just how I ended up maneuvering this. Okay, so when you open it up, you'll have a little more white over here, and that's fine. As long as you can close this and it closes nicely. Okay, next thing that we're going to do, I'm going to move this whole thing out of the way. Let's grab our bottom and top flips. Okay, so we'll start with the bottom. Okay, so we're going to have a hinge at the bottom. You have an upper and lower score line. On the lower one, we're going to pinch on that. We're going to slide this right back behind, and it will overlap from this one. See that? It does overlap. So you're going to want to get that right in the middle there, evenly in between. And then we're going to just do what we normally do. And for me, I'm going to put it right on the back of my panel because it is wider. Just a different design. Don't worry about this because by the time we're done, this all gets glued down and it will be just fine. Okay, so that's how it sits. This one, the top flip, we're going to have our thing at the top here. And once we get this all put to where we get our decorative paper, you will then see how it plays in to what we already did and why, too, we moved these out. Now, I could have done it differently, but this is how I designed my original one. Okay, so bottom score line, top one. On the top, we're going to pinch. And we're just going to bring that right over the top. What you might want to do is take the bottom one and get it underneath so then you can get them straight on the sides together. Okay? And if you want to pull that down without to make it easier for you, you can. So I'm just going to kind of lay that there, pull it down. That looks good. Again, on this, I'm just going to put it on my back of my decorative paper. Okay. All right. Now let's push up. We'll make sure that this is flat here, and you should be sitting like this. Now it does look like there's a lot of extra room. There is. We still have some pockets to do. So we're just going to open this right on up. Or actually, I'm going to show you how this works first. So here are fold out and a fold out that we just put in the book. So now when you lay this in here, you will notice that it will lay in between the inside score lines of your fold out and it will fit nicely. This actually comes out. These come in, and thus the wider spacing comes into play there. And I hope that makes sense. So you'll still be able to see a little of that. But it's going to look good by the time it's done. And once we get the pockets in there, and also when you start laying your photographs, it's going to look good. And it's going to hold that nicely for when we do this. Of course, it's not in there all together, but you can see how that works. So I just wanted to show you that. So we're going to take this all out. We're going to work on our insert between those. We'll stick this off to the side. I know it seems a little confusing, but it won't be once we put it all together. So let's just open it all the way up, and we're going to start working on these two pieces here. First two pieces that we're going to be cutting for are these two inside panels. if you are using different paper, what you're going to do is cut 2 pieces that are 5.5 inch wide by 7 7/8 tall. If you're following along with me, this one. So in your paper pack, you will find this print, and on the back, it will be that. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to turn it sideways. We're going to measure over 7 7/8 inch and cut. The next thing we're going to want to do is measure over 5.5 inches and cut. This piece we're going to put here, and how neat that is. There's the little fencing here, and it comes on over here. We will take this piece, we'll measure over 5.5 inches and cut. Alright, so we're going to glue that down. Now, as far as picture placement, you can place a photo here. Okay, you can place a photo here. Now over here, what you can do is place one right here and still have the snowman's head showing. Small photo, or just leave it alone. It is completely up to you. But one thing we can do is, remember that little piece I told you to stick off to the side? We can actually make a little tuck so you can just put a photo in there. And this should be 5.5 inches wide. Now I'm not going to back this with white cardstock. This is just going to be a tuck. Those of you that are using different paper, what I have here is 2.25 inch by 5.5. So first things first, let's glue these panels down. And again, we're just making a tuck, nothing to hold a ton of picture mats. This isn't where we put those pockets. So we'll place this down, and remember, you're going to place this evenly side to side between the side of your paper and that score line that you can see. So you want to get that straight in there. This one, we're going to apply glue, and we're going to do the same thing over there. And here is our tuck. Now I'm going to have it to where I have this this little red at the top. So I'm going to put glue a line here, a line here, and under. So it does create a pocket, but it's not meant to hold a lot of photographs because it's not backed. So I'm going to place this right down here. And you're not really going to want to pop it up too much there because we don't have a whole lot of spacing. And we're going to get this one down. Alright, remember the leftover paper that we had here? And on the back it's this. We're going to be using this. If you're cutting your own paper, what you're going to want to do is cut 2 pieces that are 4 1/8 inch by 5 3/4 inch. Those of us that have this paper that are working on, we're already 4 1/8. So we're going to measure over 5 3/4 inch and cut. We'll measure over again 5 3/4 inch and cut. That is what we should have. We're going to flip these over, and what we're going to do is center it down here and up here, and we're going to glue those down, leaving about 1/8 inch away from that bottom score line over there. Okay. So we're going to make sure that we have enough places here for photographs. So we'll just fold in our right side for right now. In your paper packs, you will find this with the sleds, and on the back it's this. If you are using different paper, you're going to cut 2 pieces that are 5.5 inch wide by 7 7/8 tall. Those of us that have this cool print, we're going to turn it sideways. We'll measure over 7 7/8 inch, and we will cut it. Next, we will measure over 5.5 inches and cut. We'll measure over again 5.5 inches and cut. So you have a choice. You can have this side up, or you can have this side up. Or you can do a mixture, one here like that, and one here like that. It is completely up to you. And both these prints are just quite beautiful. So I think what I'm going to do, here is my fold out that's attached there. I'm going to alternate this one. I'm going to have the other side up. And then the other one I'll do the other way. And then I get a mixture of both, best of both worlds there. So I'm just going to... Next I'll flip this one. And now I'll put glue on this side. And I will have that up. Okay. So we're going to wait before we do these two, because right now what we're going to do is grab our folio. It is time to place it. So you have this, this, and now we are going to place this. So when we do that, we're going to have that shut, and we are going to be placing this down in between that inner score line of these panels, okay? Because then we can get our pockets here. That will give us plenty of room, and this will come over and look really nice. Okay. So let's just grab this. If you would like to use glue, go ahead and do glue. Make sure that you get all the way over on these pieces on the back of your panel. I am going to use score tape and go for it. So, glue will be easier if you're not real savvy with the score tape, and you may need to maneuver a little bit. So use your glue. All right, now that I have the outline going, I can open this up and get this a little better. And I'm just going to place score tape down the back and burnish it. And before you place it, double check to make sure you are holding your piece not upside down. And I'm going to double check myself too, because it's always best. And I'm going to dot a little glue over here where I didn't get it. All right, so that is correct. I'm just going to hold that now. And I'm going to place this evenly between those inner score lines. And top and bottom here. So if you bring this almost all the way to the bottom, it will fit in there. Now once I have this kind of placed, I'm going to open this up and we're going to burnish this down really good. Okay, let's check our work. These two inside go in. Here are the fold outs that we attached to this, and then this comes up and over. And as you can see, looks pretty good. Now we still have two pockets to install, and those pockets will be placed in here. So let's work on opening this up. We've already done this. These two go in. We're going to get right here. I forgot to turn my camera on, so what I've done is I pieced back these two pieces, and this is easy enough. In your reserves you will see this panel. And those of you that are using different paper, I will get to you in just a moment. You will find this print right here. What you're going to want to do is measure over 4 7/8 inch and cut. And then what you'll do is make sure that you are 7 7/8 inch tall, and that will give you this panel here. So if you are using different paper, cut your piece. Two pieces are 4 7/8 by 7 7/8. You'll glue that down. Now over here, what you'll have is a very long piece in your reserves like this. And the first thing that you're going to do, your first cut, so that we all have the same leftovers, and I'm just going to turn this here. Looking at your paper like this, and this is the one with the little snowman with all the little fun little lights on, you're just going to measure over 7 7/8 inch and cut. And you'll put that in reserves. Then what you're going to do is measure over 4 7/8 inch and cut. And then you'll glue down that panel. So if you need to pause the video, do so. in the meantime, what we're going to do for this is we are going to grab our two 4 by 6 inch pockets. And remember, like we did before, we have score lines here and here, and we have one across the bottom. We're going to cut out those little squares. This one too. And we're going to do like what we did before. We're just going to fold on all those score lines. Okay, we're going to do like what we did before. We're going to pull in the sides. We'll make sure that this comes up nicely. And if we have to trim down, maybe right over on the side of these to make them fit right, do so. We'll just dab a little glue in the corner there. And again, pause the video if you need to. I apologize. I got interrupted and then I thought I'd turn the camera back on, and long and behold, it wasn't on. So, but those are easy cuts since I had my leftover pieces already. So we'll just get those. Now you can use your score tape to line here, or you can use glue. And then what we're going to do is we're going to place this down to the right. And you'll notice that if you just place it down, it comes right on over to that inner score line. This is where we're going to pucker it up a little bit and bring it all the way over to the right-hand side of your little white cardstock. So if you want to start over here and at the bottom of your decorated paper, fine, and then just push it in a little and it's going to pucker that up. We have enough space for that. So I'll just glue mine down. And then I'm going to bring this down, and that will give you your what you need. And then I'm just going to do a little bit of pushing, and it's not a whole lot to raise it far up. It's just enough. And I'm going to do the same over here, making sure you don't go over. So now when you close this, it'll be okay because you have this going on top, and it'll be just fine and your paper will relax. All right, let's get our paper for this. If you are using different paper, what you're going to need to do is cut two pieces that are 3 3/8 inch this way by 4 7/8 inch this way. Then when you place your paper down, you should leave yourself a white lip up there. And 3 3/8 should be about perfect. Those of you that are following along with me, in your reserves, you will find this long piece. On the back, it is this. We're first going to look at it like this, and we're going to measure over 3 3/8 inch and cut. So that's what you should have now. We're going to measure over 4 7/8 inch and cut. We'll measure over again 4 7/8 inch and cut. All right, let's apply glue, and we'll bring it down to the bottom. We'll center that side to side, and we will glue these down, leaving ourselves a little bit of a white lip up there. Those of you that are using the same paper as me, pull this piece out of your reserves. We're just going to make a little tuck, and on the back it looks like this. You see this where it comes all the way over and around there? I'm going to cut this out, and I'm going to show you what mine looks like. And we are not going to back this. This is just a little tuck so you can get your picture back behind. So that's all I did. So I left the bottom of the star and all this. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a little tuck. And for this, on the back side, just a little bit here. And I think that should be okay. Actually, we can go right in the middle with that if we wanted, but I'm going to bring mine over to the side. and I'm just going to go right like that. And now I'm able to grab something small or a photograph and tuck it back behind. This ain't the right photograph, obviously, but you can tuck your photo right back behind if it was on the landscape. All right, if you're following along with me, grab this out of your reserves, and some of you may already have this one attached. And that's the one we want. Now for this, I'm going to show you how I'm going to cut this, and we can also grab this little thing here. But let me just show you. So this is what I did. So as you can see, I did not cut in between here, up in here. I just left it kind of like this. Now make sure that you're going to fit in here, and you will. This is where we're going to want some white cardstock to back him. And we're going to glue him down to white cardstock, and we're going to cut out and around, leaving a little bit of a white border. And as far as the holly, we're just going to cut out and around the holly. We don't need to back that. So let's get started on that. All right, I have mine done. And I have this little holly here. And I'm going to first just put some glue down on the back of this. And I'll just put that right there. Okay, so this should fit on your piece, but I do want to make it so that it is kind of a where you can slide back behind, but we do need to get the back over here. And then what we're going to do is come straight across the bottom, up, and we'll come up a little over there. And we will place that. So just underneath here, along the bottom. And you should still be able to slide something back behind. For example, if you wanted to do a picture or something. Alrighty, so that is done. Let's get our fold out for P2 on the outside. Alright, if you are doing your own different paper pack, what you're going to need to do for this and this is cut 2 pieces of your decorated paper that is 4 7/8 inch wide by 7 7/8 inch tall. If you're following along with me, find this. On the back, it is this. This is about 7 inches wide, and it's about 8 inches tall. The first thing that we're going to do, looking at it like this, is we're going to measure over 4 7/8 inch and cut. Now we're just going to turn it and measure over 7 7/8 inch and cut. So that was just a little sliver off there. We're going to glue that down. We're going to center it right on that panel and glue that down. Okay, we'll flip that over and we'll find our paper for this. In your paper pack, you will find this beautiful print, and on the back it is this. The first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to turn this upside down. We're going to measure over 4 7/8 inch and cut. This is what you should have. Let's turn that. We're going to measure over 7 7/8 inch and cut. Let's apply our glue and glue that down to the panel. Alright, so we have our stuff here. That goes over, or you can put that one over. It does not matter. We are now going to flip these two, and we're going to find our paper for that. If you're using your own paper pack instead of what I'm using, what you're going to want to do for these 2 top ones is cut 2 pieces that are 4 1/8 inch tall by 5 3/4 inch wide. if you're following me, you will find this piece in your reserves. We are already 4 1/8 inch this way. What we're going to do is we're going to measure over 5 3/4 inch and cut. All right. So you can turn this around if you want your sleigh to go a certain way. It doesn't matter. Now, if you were to place this, this will give you a nice white border all the way around. And we're going to glue that panel down. Okay? Now for this one, we're going to use a different color. In your reserves, you will find this piece. This is about 7 inches by 5 inches. So this will work just fine, and we're going to look at it like this. So the grain's going like that. We're going to measure over 5 3/4 inch and cut. Now that we have it cut like that, we'll just turn it and we'll measure over 4 1/8 inch and cut. Let's apply glue, and we're going to center that right on in there. So this is what we have now. In your reserves, for those of you that are following me, I want to try something here. So I'm just going to cut in to get to this snowman. And now I'm going to be detaching, I can tell you that right now. So I'm going to cut out and around him. Okay. Now I also want to try something else, since this is the first time I'm using this paper. See this? We're going to try 2 different things here. And what we don't use here, we will use somewhere else. So all these little cut aparts now that are separated, I'm going to keep these out of my reserve. It'll be so much easier for me to locate these. So I'm going to put those out of the way. So we're going to try something here and see which one we like best. We're going to cut out and around each one of these. Then we're going to glue it down to white cardstock and cut around that. If you're using a different paper and you have cut aparts, find something that you would like that looks good to you. I've got both my pieces cut out and backed with white cardstock. So what I decided I'm going to do, because I'm going to be using both of these pieces in this folio, is we're going to place this one here. We're going to save this, and we'll be using that in panel 3, and it will look really good. So here, the thing is with this, is we don't want to glue back behind to where it's completely stuck down. We want to be able to still slide a very nice photograph back behind, of course going the other way. So what I'm going to do is put the glue, I'm going to look and see what I need here, and I'm only going to come up maybe 1/2 inch. And I'm just going to place that center, and I'll wipe up any glue there. So about 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to test it really quick. Make sure I can still get my photograph in there nicely. And I can. All right, panel 2 is complete. We're going to move on to panel 3, P3.